All right, welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take the sources you send our way,
Hmm?
all the articles, the research, the sort of hidden philosophies, and we really just pull them apart to find the most crucial, actionable nuggets of knowledge.
Yeah, we're here to give you that shortcut to being truly informed, especially on these topics that, they really get to the deepest parts of your life.
And today, wow, we are tackling a big one. It's maybe the defining challenge of modern middle age, right?
I think so. It's this profound dilemma that your sources have been calling successful emptiness.
Successful emptiness. That just nails it.
It's that exact moment. The spreadsheets are full, the status is there, it's been achieved, and yet the soul is just hungry.
That is the core conflict, isn't it? I mean, you look at the person we're talking to here, they're high achieving, they're driven, they are, by any external measure, successful.
Absolutely. By the world standards, they've won.
They've spent, what, the first 20 years of their adult life
Hmm.
mastering this game of acquisition.
Mm.
The higher salary, the corner office, the impressive title, the approval of their peers.
Hmm.
And they might be standing there in a beautiful custom-built kitchen sipping a coffee, and it just hits them with this chilling clarity, this thought that maybe I've traded my genuine happiness for a really nice set of golden handcuffs.
That's the moment. It's the moment the goals just sort of blur and the confusion is so sharp because logically all that success should equal contentment. It should.
But it doesn't.
And the drive that got you there is suddenly just, it's exhausting. But what your sources recognize, and this is key, is that this isn't a breakdown. It's a pivot point.
Okay, a pivot point, not a dead end.
Exactly. And they offer this remarkably systematic solution to navigate this midlife confusion. They call it the 3 ways of clear living. Or for our purposes today, we can really think of it as the life triangle.
So that's our mission today. We're going to move past the surface level anxiety of it all and really just extract the profound insights from these materials. We're looking for the rules of engagement for the second half of life.
That's it. We're extracting the core philosophy here, which argues that these 3 pillars, they're not just, isolated lifestyle choices you can pick and choose from.
Ah, so they're interconnected.
They are completely interconnected. They're non-negotiable components that have to work in synergy for you to find that genuine, lasting internal fulfillment.
Okay, so what are the 3 pillars?
All right, so the 3 pillars, which we're going to unpack in a lot of detail, are material austerity.
Which is DPay or low configuration.
Right. Then family affluence.
GAOPay, high configuration.
And finally, spiritual opulence.
Which is DingPay or top configuration.
Low for matter, high for family, and top for the spirit. And right away, you can see how counterintuitive it is, right? It's asking you to completely invert the conventional metrics of success.
It flips the script entirely.
Yeah.
Instead of chasing financial wealth, you're prioritizing, what, time and inner peace.
Precisely. And before we dive into the pillars themselves, we have to set the psychological context for this whole transformation. It's so important.
Okay.
Your sources draw very heavily on the psychoanalyst Carl Jung, who, he just perfectly defined this exact moment of transition. He said, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, the first half of life is dedicated to gaining the world's approval. The second half is dedicated to finding one's soul.
Wow. That quote is a lifetime of wisdom in a single sentence. It lays out the whole journey.
It defines that necessary shift, doesn't it? From seeking external validation to demanding internal realization.
Okay, so let's start there. Let's unpack that journey of the first half of life and, how it sets us up for this seemingly inevitable crisis.
Yeah.
When we're young, our whole orientation it's fundamentally about conquering, right?
Absolutely. Conquering.
Our core drive is acquisition, expansion, proving our value to the world, to ourselves. We see the world as this series of countless mountains to climb.
And we operate under this belief that if we just put in maximum effort, we'll eventually own everything. The money, the fame, the status, the stability.
And the world rewards that. It heavily rewards that conquest mindset.
Oh, for sure. Young adulthood is just dominated by these measurable metrics. What's the size of your bank account? What's the title on your business card?
The square footage of your house.
Exactly. The visibility of your social standing. And we use these external markers to build what we think is a sense of security and self-worth. It's like an arms race for social standing.
And to be fair, it's invigorating for a while. The climb itself is the reward.
It is.
But the sources really highlight that by midlife, those mountains you conquered, suddenly they seem less defined, and the rewards start feeling a little repetitive, a little hollow.
And that's the crisis point. You've owned a lot, you have the status, you got the toys, and yet you're left with that feeling of being empty inside. That disorientation.
Yeah.
That's your soul demanding attention.
So it's the soul saying, hey, what about me?
You've forgotten me. Yes. The midlife crisis isn't fundamentally a crisis of your material life. It's a crisis of meaning.
Meaning.
We've just traveled too far down a path that delivered a lot of status, but not a lot of substance. And the crisis, as painful and confusing as it is, it's ultimately this critical turning point that forces an internal reckoning.
So it's actually an opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity. It forces you to realize that true wealth isn't external. It's not the titles or the admiration of strangers. It's something deeply internal.
Like what?
Like genuine connection, a sense of inner peace. That composure, the Chinese call it dingli, to face difficulty without your entire foundation just cracking.
Okay, so if the first half of life was about maximizing external assets, the second half becomes about maximizing tranquility, inner peace.
That's the goal.
But how do you make that switch? I mean, that youthful drive for acquisition is so powerful. It's what our whole society is built on.
It is powerful.
Yeah.
And that drive is desire itself. And this is where your sources bring in this really useful philosophical tool, specifically from Karl Popper.
Okay.
So Popper has this analogy. He suggests that rationality is the compass and desire is the storm.
Rationality the compass, desire the storm. I like that.
In the first half of life, we often confuse the storm for the compass. We let the chaotic, infinite, and frankly irrational storm of desire, the hunt for the next goal, the next purchase, the next promotion, we let that drive the ship.
And desire is a terrible captain because it never, ever stops. As soon as you get one thing, it immediately wants the next bigger thing. It's a perpetual treadmill.
Exactly. Desire, by its very nature, is infinite. But our resources, our time, they're finite. And if you let infinite desire steer your finite life, you are going to constantly feel insufficient. It's inevitable.
So the transition's about firing the captain.
It's about firing the storm. The midlife transition, according to this philosophy, is about forcing yourself to switch from being driven by that exhausting, chaotic storm to navigating strictly by the compass of rationality. You have to rationally choose your direction, choose your destinations, instead of just reacting to the biggest, loudest wave of desire.
And that distinction, choosing based on reason instead of reacting to desire, that's the path back to control, to what the sources call agency.
It's fundamental, and Jung's house-building metaphor really helps visualize this pivot.
Okay, let's hear it.
So in the first half of life, we are obsessed with the exterior of the house. We focus on the grand facade, the elaborate landscaping, the curb appeal.
All for the neighbors.
Explicitly to gain admiration from the neighbors. We want the world to look at our life and say, wow, look at their success.
You're building the house for the benefit of the passersby.
Precisely. But the second half of life is about realizing the house is already built, you've done the performance. Now the necessary focus has to shift entirely inward.
To the inside of the house.
Yes. Is the hearth warm? Are the rooms comfortable? Are the occupants, your soul, your spouse, your children, are they happy? Are they secure? The purpose shifts from proving value to experiencing fulfillment. It's this profound shift from the performance of life to the intimate living of life. And that requires a complete reevaluation of what you hold dear.
Okay, so this brings us to the first practical pillar for this internal reconstruction. Material austerity, decay, low configuration.
That's the one.
And we have to address the immediate resistance this term creates.
Wow.
I mean, when our listeners hear austerity, they're probably hearing poverty or self-deprivation.
And that would be a complete, total misreading of the philosophy.
Okay, so clarify that.
Your sources are very clear on this. This is not about misery. It is about strategic, highly rational subtraction. It's the conscious discipline of distinguishing between your genuine needs.
Like things that actually sustain life.
Yes.
Sunlight, clean water, rest, basic shelter.
Exactly. Distinguishing between those genuine needs and the massive, endless quantity of manufactured desires that advertising and social comparison relentlessly create.
So it's basically choosing not to participate in the consumer arms race.
That's a great way to put it.
But for our high-achieving listener, how do they draw that line? I mean, isn't a certain level of affluence required just to maintain security, to feel safe?
And that is the crucial question. This isn't about reducing your income to zero. It's about optimizing your time and your energy. The core goal of material austerity is to stop the need to constantly chase phantom needs.
Phantom needs.
The sources argue that when we continually pursue bigger, newer, or more complex items, we just become slaves to desire.
Yeah.
We are trading our finite life energy, our time, our peace of mind for infinite consumption.
So we're losing agency. I mean, if I have a massive mortgage for a house I barely use and 2 luxury cars I hate making payments on, I have to work harder. I have to stay in a stressful job I might not like. I have to compromise my time with my family.
The object owns you.
The object owns me, yeah.
Material austerity is that strategic move. It's trading material dependency for autonomy, for freedom. It's about regaining that agency, that veto power over external demands. If you don't need the excess stuff, you don't need the extra job, the extra stress, or the extra compromises, the less you need to sustain your lifestyle, the more control you have over your most precious resource.
The time.
Your time. This philosophy argues that time, not money, is the true, ultimate currency of life.
That puts the power right back in the listener's hands. Okay, so this idea, this radical idea that true wealth lies in needing less, it must have some deep historical roots.
Oh, it has very deep roots. And we have to look at Henry David Thoreau and his 2-year experiment at Walden Pond. His whole project was a radical social critique, but it was wrapped in this experiment of self-sufficiency.
A deliberate reduction of complexity to find clarity.
He deliberately sought to minimize his material obligations so he could maximize his spiritual and intellectual freedom. Thoreau's great insight was that complexity is costly, not just financially, but in terms of your mental bandwidth. He literally calculated the hours of his life he had to trade for every single object he owned. And he articulated this by arguing that a person's true wealth should be measured by how much he can afford to let go of.
That's so powerful. Not how much you can accumulate, but how much you can let go of.
By reducing his material reliance, by subtracting, he gained this unprecedented amount of freedom to think, to write, to just be. And for the modern listener, this applies directly to decision fatigue. Every possession, every property, every complicated financial instrument, it demands a piece of your attention. Austerity is about freeing up that attention.
And then you have the really extreme end of the spectrum. We have the legendary icon of radical simplicity, Diogenes the Cynic.
Oh, yes!
He makes Thoreau look like an absolute maximalist.
He really does. Diogenes is the ultimate spiritual provocateur of material austerity. He chose voluntary poverty, living in a big ceramic jar, owning only a cloak and a wooden bowl.
Until he got rid of the bowl.
Exactly. The sources recount that fantastic anecdote. He saw a child drinking from cupped hands, and he immediately realized the bowl was a superfluous burden, an unnecessary piece of technology getting in the way of his natural needs. That's the purity of the idea.
It's the realization that technology, even simple technology, can become a crutch we don't actually need.
But the anecdote that truly defines his spiritual nobility is his interaction with Alexander the Great.
The most powerful man in the world at the time.
The most powerful man. Alexander came to him and asked if he could grant Diogenes any wish, anything at all. And Diogenes' response was, famously, to ask him not to stand in my sunlight.
I love that story.
Think about the power dynamic there. Diogenes, who possessed nothing, had achieved a state where the conqueror of the known world could offer him absolutely nothing of value. His lack of need made him untouchable, immune to external pressure or status games.
He had achieved absolute freedom from external control because he had nothing to protect and nothing to gain. So that is the true meaning of low configuration. You configure your needs to be so low that the outside world cannot threaten your internal peace.
And this ancient idea, believe it or not, flows directly into modern life. Your sources connect this radical subtraction to the philosophy of Marie Kondo.
Teng Malihui, the organizing guru.
That's her.
It seems a little bizarre to link ancient Greek cynicism with a modern Japanese tidying method.
Yeah.
But I think I see the connection. It's profound.
It is, because the goal is exactly the same. Liberation. Kondo's rule, to keep only things that spark joy. It's basically a test of your possessions against your internal state.
Right.
You're forced to confront all the things you bought out of obligation or expectation or to project a certain image. By letting go of those items, you are literally letting go of the things tied to external expectation. You are shedding the heavy, often hidden psychological baggage that society told you needed.
You are physically manifesting material austerity. You're cutting the non-essentials to reveal the essentials, which is mental space.
And to crystallize this first pillar, let's use the hot air balloon analogy.
Okay.
Your life is the balloon. And all your material desires are the heavy sandbags tied to the basket, the weights of constant maintenance, comparison, mortgages, consumer debt. They keep the balloon tethered low to the ground. They force you to navigate the congested, stressful, competitive landscape down there.
You spend all your energy just maintaining the ropes and hauling the bags.
But only by rationally cutting those ropes, by consciously discarding the unnecessary weight, the excess sandbags of material desire, only then can your life's balloon rise higher. You ascend above the stress. You gain that wider perspective, the peace, the autonomy that Diogenes and Thoreau found. Material austerity is the act of letting go of the weight so your life can truly float and reach its potential.
Okay, so if material austerity is that vital subtraction that frees up our time, our energy, our mental bandwidth, then Pillar 2 is about the intentional choice of where to invest those newly liberated resources.
Exactly where to point them.
This is family affluence, or Gao Pei high configuration. And again, the sources are very clear. This high configuration is emphatically not financial.
It is not. It is the dedicated investment of time, attention, and deep emotional effort. The Chinese phrase is "Shijin yu xinxi de turu." This is the highest return on investment you will ever make.
That's a bold claim.
Well, think about it. The success you achieved in the external world, the one that caused the midlife crisis in the first place, is ultimately meaningless if your home, the very foundation of your emotional life, is fractured or cold.
And we all know that person, the successful failure case.
The archetype. That CEO who is globally lauded, financially impeccable, but completely isolated. The moment of reckoning hits them around age 50. They're sitting in their opulent, empty office, and they realize their children avoid them.
They see them as a stressed-out wallet.
A stressed-out wallet, their spouse is distant, their friends are only interested in their professional clout. They won the professional war, but they lost the emotional one.
It just speaks to that fundamental human need for connection. We're social animals. You can't substitute a title or a bank balance for genuine emotional security and belonging.
You absolutely cannot. And family capital is not built on transactions. It's built on sincere, full engagement, what the sources call ensuring the mind and body must be present.
Mind and body present.
Physical proximity is just the minimum requirement. If you are sitting at the dinner table, but you're mentally drafting emails, or you're replaying an argument with your boss, or just scrolling social media,
You're there, but you're not there.
you're physically present, but emotionally absent.
Yeah.
And that is low-quality time. That doesn't build anything.
So give us an example of what true high-quality presence looks like, especially when the external pressures are just overwhelming.
For that, we can look at Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. I mean, his external stress level was arguably higher than any other American leader in history. The nation was splitting apart, casualties were horrific, his political life was chaos, and yet he made it a deliberate priority to read bedtime stories to his children every single night.
That seems like such a small thing, but what does that say about his intentionality?
It says everything. He was intentionally creating a pocket of normalcy and connection in a world of absolute terror. And the insight here is so profound. His children didn't remember the power he wielded or the money he managed. They remembered the time he gave them, the focused attention, the security that, for those 15 minutes, his world was entirely theirs. That dedicated presence creates the secure emotional foundation that lasts for decades.
So it's a quality of the interaction that builds the bond, not the duration of the physical presence.
And this commitment to high-quality presence, it extends to the mundane. The sources bring up the Japanese philosophy of ichiju sansei.
Which literally means one soup, 3 dishes.
Right. It sounds like a simple meal, but the philosophy behind it is deeply resonant with this idea of family affluence.
So explain the cultural weight of that phrase. It's more than just a menu, right?
It's not about being frugal. It's a philosophy of mindful simplicity and respect. It demands that you pour love and attention into the mundane daily tasks. When you prepare a meal according to Ichiju Sansai, you're ensuring balance, color, nutrition. You're paying attention to the details.
And that intentionality extends beyond the kitchen.
It extends to listening carefully to your spouse or your child. It means putting down the phone and giving a patient, sincere response. It transforms the routine, daily tasks of family life into these opportunities to build trust and create an emotional safety net.
So family affluence is really built minute by minute, not through grand gestures or expensive vacations.
Absolutely. And this priority is ancient. The Chinese philosophical tradition really emphasizes this sequencing, and it's encapsulated in that famous Confucian proverb.
Cultivating oneself, regulating the family, governing the nation, bringing peace to the world. Shushen Kijia Zigoping Tianxia.
And the order there is crucial, isn't it?
It is. Shushen, self-cultivation, has to come before Kijia, regulating the family.
Precisely. The wisdom is that if the individual isn't stable and morally upright, their immediate environment, the family, will be chaotic. And if your family is chaotic, you have no business trying to govern a nation or seek any kind of broader peace.
Right.
It establishes the successful, stable family unit as the indispensable foundation. It's the bedrock of personal integrity and societal stability. And the implication for the midlife professional is crystal clear. If your home life is dysfunctional, your external success is built on quicksand.
That really gives this pillar the weight it deserves.
Okay, let's connect this back to our analogy. We use the hot air balloon for austerity. Let's use the deep sea voyage for affluence.
Okay, if your life is a deep-sea voyage, then family affluence is the sturdy, high-configured anchor and the secure harbor.
The secure harbor. The external world is the violent ocean. It's throwing up storms of financial stress, market chaos, professional betrayal, health crises. Your boat, your professional life, it's going to get tossed around. But if you have that solid anchor, that reliable harbor, you always have a safe port to return to. You can moor, repair, resupply emotionally, and then relaunch. Without that harbor, a major storm will cause you to drift aimlessly or capsize permanently. The family provides that necessary psychological and emotional resilience.
Okay, so we've done the necessary subtraction with material austerity, securing our time and our agency. We've used that freed up energy to build a secure emotional foundation with family affluence. Now we move to the peak of the life triangle.
The top configuration.
Spiritual opulence, or ding pei. This is the achievement of inner sovereignty.
It is the ultimate target of the midlife pivot. It's about achieving a wisdom and a serenity that makes external circumstances secondary. It's about gaining what the Chinese sources call
Dingli, which means
what?
steadfastness. Composure.
All of that. Steadfastness, composure, mental discipline. It is the ability to hold steady and respond rationally rather than reacting emotionally when the world is collapsing around you.
So it's not about escaping reality or becoming detached.
Not at all. It's about enriching your inner world within reality.
Okay.
That dingly allows you to face severe adversity, whether it's professional failure, chronic illness, even political exile, without your spirit faltering. Your external world might be a complete mess, but your internal order is impeccable.
That seems like an almost superhuman level of resilience.
Yeah.
Especially for someone who, has relied heavily on external achievement for their self-worth their whole life. How can you achieve that kind of mental freedom if your physical circumstances are deeply restrictive?
And the sources provide these striking, undeniable examples. I mean, consider the life of Stephen Hawking.
Right.
His body was confined by severe motor neuron disease. He was reliant on technology for almost everything, an extreme form of physical confinement. And yet, his mind was completely unfettered.
Completely free.
He spent his life exploring the secrets of black holes and the furthest reaches of the cosmos. His inner spiritual opulence, his intellectual engagement with the universe was absolute. It's the ultimate proof that mental freedom operates entirely independently of physical constraint.
His intellectual wealth was limitless, which made his physical poverty, in a sense, irrelevant to his contribution to humanity.
Then there's the historical example of Su Shi, or Su Dongpo, the Song Dynasty poet and official. He was exiled multiple times to some of the most remote and materially harsh places in China. He was sent to Hainan Island. He lost everything, his position, his income, his security.
And he didn't descend into despair. He actually transformed his exile into this rich internal experience.
He maintained his composure, his dingli, despite the material deprivation. He famously wrote a poem where he describes being caught in a sudden downpour, and yet he says, "Don't listen to the sound of the rain beating against the forest. Why not smile and walk slowly?" He chose his inner response. He turned his exile into an opportunity for art, for teaching, for connecting with nature. His inner richness was so powerful he couldn't be impoverished by external circumstances.
That is the essence of Dingley, isn't it? The ability to smile and walk slowly when everything inside you is screaming to panic and run.
And spiritual richness isn't just reserved for geniuses or historical figures. The sources remind us that it's accessible through simple dignity, too. They use the literary example of Jane Eyre.
Ah, okay.
Jane was poor, she was plain, she lacked family status, yet she possessed this unshakable inner world which she cultivated through reading and intellectual independence.
Her dignity came from within.
Precisely. That spiritual opulence is what allowed her to refuse to compromise her values, even when she was faced with the temptation of wealth and power that could have solved all her material problems in an instant. She demonstrated that true nobility isn't in your birth or your bank account. It's in the quality of your soul and the strength of your convictions.
So this is a conscious cultivation. It's something you have to work at. What are the concrete, practical pathways the sources suggest for developing this spiritual wealth today?
The sources outline three major pathways. You can think of them as the investment portfolio for your soul. The first is reading.
Yep.
And this is described not as a leisure activity, but as an essential nutrient for the mind. It's a constant, ongoing dialogue with the wisest people who have ever lived. Gustave Flaubert sums it up perfectly. He said, reading is for living. It expands your cognitive boundaries and gives you the tools to handle life's inevitable challenges.
It's the highest leverage activity for generating wisdom.
Second, we have aesthetics. This is the conscious pursuit of beauty, whether it's in art, music, nature, even mathematics. Immanuel Kant argued that beauty is the symbol of morality.
Interesting.
Engaging with beauty elevates the spirit, it purifies the soul, and it pulls you out of the petty struggles of the day-to-day. It's a necessary antidote to consumerism and anxiety.
And the third path. This one is arguably the most demanding. Meaning-making.
Correct. This is about engaging with the biggest existential questions, particularly how to find satisfaction when life often feels repetitive or absurd. And here, the sources reference Albert Camus and his view of Sisyphus.
The man condemned by the gods to eternally roll a boulder up a hill, only to watch it roll back down again.
The ultimate image of futility, which, let's be honest, many people feel in their daily routines. The endless meetings, the constant emails, the repetitive tasks.
It can feel very Sisyphean.
But Camus provides this profound shift. He says we must imagine Sisyphus happy, not because he likes the labor, but because he achieves happiness in his conscious awareness of the absurdity. When he walks back down the hill, he is fully aware of his fate, but he rejects despair. He finds dignity in his constant revolt against futility. Spiritual opulence allows you to define the meaning of your labor internally rather than waiting for an external reward or outcome that may never materialize.
You find dignity in the defiant process itself. That is real freedom.
And let's apply our deep-sea voyage analogy one last time, shifting the focus here. If material austerity was discarding the heavy ballast and family affluence was the sturdy anchor, then spiritual opulence is the precise compass and the powerful sail. The compass provides the moral and philosophical direction, ensuring your ship doesn't just drift aimlessly. And the sail is the dinghy, the inner steadfastness and forward momentum that ensures you keep moving toward your chosen destiny, regardless of the turbulent currents trying to pull you off course.
So we've established the three pillars. Now, the sources insist, and this seems really important, that these are not three separate exercises. They are a systematic closed loop. They form what they call an iron triangle that drives true, sustainable happiness. This synergy is the critical final piece.
The strength of this entire philosophy lies in that feedback mechanism. The pillars are mutually reinforcing. If you neglect one, the others will eventually crumble.
Okay, let's walk through the flow then, starting with the sacrifice. Step 1, material austerity. You consciously reduce unnecessary complexity and external wants. What does that immediately yield?
It immediately releases your most valuable resources, your time, your energy, and your mental space. You are no longer spending weekends maintaining excess possessions or dealing with the stress of unnecessary debt. That mental bandwidth is now freed from being a slave to manufactured desire.
Okay, so step 2, investment in family affluence. That freed up high-quality resource, the intentional time and that calm mental state, is immediately invested into your family.
Which creates a secure, warm, and supportive emotional foundation. It builds that harbor we talked about.
And that leads to step 3, the ascent to spiritual opulence. A calm mind and a secure, supportive home life that provides the perfect environment for deep internal work.
You can now actually engage in reading, aesthetic contemplation, and meaning-making without external pressure or internal panic dictating your whole agenda.
And here is where the loop closes. Step 4, synergy and reinforcement. Spiritual growth provides profound clarity and wisdom. And this clarity, in turn, reinforces the wisdom you need to handle material desires better.
Yes, you start to see the consumerist games for the illusions they are.
And to manage your family relationships more patiently.
For instance, your spiritual opulence gives you the patience and the reduced anxiety you need for that high-quality listening at home. It reduces your need for external status, which directly prevents you from falling back into the trap that material austerity is meant to solve. The entire system drives a life free from comparison and anxiety, precisely because your fulfillment is being generated internally, not granted externally.
That structure is so powerful. But let's bring it to life with that transforming anecdote from the sources, the one that perfectly illustrates this midlife pivot. The high-powered lawyer who quit his partnership to open a small bookstore.
This lawyer was the perfect embodiment of successful emptiness. He was likely earning millions. He had maximum material configuration. But he was completely depleted emotionally and spiritually. His life wasn't driven by that Popperian compass of rationality,
He was driven by the storm.
by the storm of financial desire and pure expectation. His turning point was a major health scare, a severe heart attack at age 45. His body basically forced the reckoning that his soul had been demanding.
The storm nearly capsized the ship, forcing him to finally grab the compass.
Upon his recovery, he consciously decided to reconfigure his life based on this triangle. And let's analyze his process because it was not easy.
Right. First, the difficult sacrifice. Material austerity. He traded the massive income of a law firm partnership for the modest, quiet income of a small bookstore owner. The sources emphasize how emotionally challenging this was, the fear of social judgment, the loss of status, the immediate financial simplification. He consciously cut the heaviest sandbags.
Second, the intentional investment, family affluence. Crucially, the sources note that he gained control over his time, and for the first time in years, he was truly present for his family. He read to his own children again. He cooked. He simply existed in the same space as his wife without the constant mental pull of the office. He repaired his anchor.
And third, the resultant gain, spiritual opulence. By running the bookstore and hosting community reading groups, he rekindled his love for literature and intellectual pursuits from his youth. He was engaged in that dialogue with the wisest minds in history every single day. His soul was finally being fed with meaning, not just ambition.
And the powerful final quote from this lawyer, it just perfectly encapsulates the transformation achieved through the life triangle. He said, "I used to have everything, but I had nothing. Now I don't have much, but I have everything."
Wow.
That is the core shift. The exchange of false, debilitating external wealth for genuine, sustaining internal fulfillment.
It redefines success entirely.
Yeah.
It's not about how many external objects you can accumulate, but how much meaning and connection you can cultivate. It's about being rich in the things that actually matter when you're lying awake at 3 a.m.
And this leads us to the final summary analogy presented in the source material. The gardening analogy.
Yeah.
Midlife is when the gardener, that's you, uses material austerity to ruthlessly prune away the draining, unproductive branches. The excessive debt, the status-seeking commitments, the things that sap your vitality but yield no genuine fruit.
Cutting the deadwood.
This pruning allows the roots family affluence to anchor deeper, to strengthen, and to grow, and with firm, nourished roots and clear energy, the crown of the tree's spiritual opulence, your inner life, can grow freely upward toward the sun and the sky. You shift from being owned by the complicated, draining branches of external obligation to being nurtured by the stable roots and the light of clarity. So the profound finding from this deep dive is, I think, very clear. True freedom and lasting satisfaction in the second half of life require the courage to reject society's traditional metric of success.
It's a big ask.
It is. It means shifting from relentlessly seeking external validation, from proving ourselves to the world, to finding and cultivating internal fulfillment through this systematic life structure. It demands wisdom to see the difference between a genuine need and a fabricated desire, and a real willingness to let go of the things that have been weighing you down for years.
As the sources so beautifully suggested, knowledge and beautiful memories, those are the only true assets that actually accompany us through life, rather than being depleted or lost. Life is not a race to accumulate a large inventory. It's a poem to be savored, written in moments of presence and reflection. So if true contentment is needing less and treasuring what you have, and if your life is a hot air balloon seeking to rise higher and see a wider, freer landscape, we leave you with one final, provocative thought to mull over as you transition your focus.
Okay.
Think of the biggest stressor in your life right now, the one commitment that feels heavy, draining, and unnecessary. What non-essential heavy sandbag can you identify and courageously cut loose today to allow your life's balloon to float higher and allow your soul to breathe?
Choose wisely, and choose freedom.